With 2 games to come this week at the Emirates Stadium, we're already learning a lot about Arsenal in pre-season. I want to talk about my big takeaways so far and analyse what Arteta might be planning for next season in this video, because he's giving us little hints, little clues, and some of Arsenal's problems from last season are still emerging in pre-season, but Arteta seems to be finding solutions or looking for solutions to address that as well, and of course the transfer market will play a part in that too. So we're going to talk about the latest news, analysis, and look at how Arsenal are looking ahead of this big week before the Premier League kicks off next week. My word, does it come around so quickly. But look, Arsenal played 3 games out in the States. I was lucky enough to be there, and after actually an impressive performance against Bournemouth's first 11 with a lot of youngsters out there, Arsenal then did well to beat Manchester United, but again some of the same problems appeared. As you can see from some of the match stats, we had 58% of the ball but only created 1 chance and only managed 6 shots. Yes, Arsenal were better than Man United in that game. Yes, they had a lot of sustained pressure, especially in the second half, but there were concerns that are very similar to the concerns of last season, a lot of it being chance and shot conversion. If we look at the Liverpool game where we actually lost, again 60% of the ball, 13 shots in that game, which isn't too bad, but again only the 1 big chance. Liverpool with fewer shots managed 3 bigger chances, of course hit the post, and asked a lot more questions of Karl Hein than we did of Kelleher in their goal. So for all the possession and all the dominance we had in both those games, just in terms of maybe territory and moving the ball around, we had some good patterns of play. Arsenal was still lacking not only really kind of good chance creation. I don't think we were kind of relentlessly asking questions of their goalkeepers, but even the chances we did create, we were wasteful. Martinelli crossing it to Jesus, it should have been an easy tap in, but Quansah gets it away. Nelson did really well to find Jesus in the box, but again a really good block, it goes out for a corner. Ødegaard found a good moment in the box, header from Kivior went over the bar, Vieira had a shot save. There were moments in these games where you're thinking, these are like, they're not amazing chances, but a lot of them are good chances. Certainly one of them was an amazing chance, and if Arsenal had been a little bit more clinical, we probably punished them in what wasn't like the highest of XG chances. And I think that's something Arteta wants to do. He wants to, make those chances, convert a little bit more. And actually when we are on top and we do have teams on the back foot, we're able to punish them more for the territory and the dominance that we have. Now, is this one of the solutions that he's looking to go with? Because against Manchester United, as you can see here on the tactical pad, I found a lot of our shape very, very interesting. In particular, the use of these players here. Let's show them in blue. Ben White and Zinchenko, who are the 2 widest players in this move that resulted in an equaliser against Manchester United. If you look at these, let's show them in white. If you look at Ødegaard and Nwaneri here, white might not have been the best colour to choose, but you can see Nwaneri and Ødegaard are 2 of our highest players, but they're also our 2 advanced 8s here, with Jorginho a lot deeper. So why am I showing you all this? Because actually the question is, well, where have our wide forwards ended up here? Because Arsenal's wide forwards can tend to be, and let's show it in blue, can tend to be, we'll do it with an arrow, maybe here and here, hugging the touchline. There we go. Or they might be here and here, a little bit more, still high up the pitch, but taking up those forward areas. In fact, we'll show it with the square. They're here, and I should have used a different colour, so let's use yellow. They're actually here. Nelson, and of course it's not working now, there we go. Nelson and Trossard. They're deeper. And what I find really interesting here is what Arsenal have gone and done is Zinchenko and White have gone and sort of held the width a little bit more, got quite high up the pitch. Our advanced 8s have seen opportunity to try and make runs through to try and get on the end of a pass from Zinchenko or Trossard. And actually Nelson and Trossard dropped a little bit deeper, let the play move beyond them to get on the ball and play a little bit. And I think it's a really interesting sort of evolution of the way we've used our forwards. Yes, when Martinelli came on, we still had very high and wide wingers. Vieira did the same too, but actually in the first half we saw a little bit more kind of closeness from our central midfielders to our wide forwards as well. So what you get is this situation where Zinchenko's on the ball, Trossard has the ball, but Nelson again in that pocket, and he just rolls it to Nwaneri, who sort of pulls off that little bit of an underlap move that we've seen, and Jesus puts it into the back of the net. It was not always what Arsenal did in terms of approach and build-up, but an interesting variation that we didn't see too much last season or really in seasons before that. Let me show you a Trossard shot in that game. That again, Trossard does actually get the ball out wide, but he drives inside, and where Nelson finds himself is quite central, and again, 2 of the widest players are Ben White and Zinchenko. And then you get this cluster here, which we'll show in red, very central cluster that involves your number 10, your deep line playmaker and Jorginho, and then your 3 forwards all very, very close to the penalty area. And the way this plays out is Ødegaard rolls it into Nelson, one touch into Trossard, who feints inside and forces a really good save. But what I like about this, and we'll just show you an even slower speed, is Ødegaard rolls it into Nelson, and Trossard's made that run. He's come off the left at the beginning of this move. Arsenal nearly lost it, but they've kept it alive. And he's moved himself forward into these central areas where he can be most dangerous. These are the areas of the pitch I want to see Trossard playing in. Really close to goal, in the width of that penalty area, asking questions of the goalkeeper. But it's interesting that Reiss Nelson, who's got lots of pace, could maybe really attack an area of the pitch like this part here, is actually a lot more central and involved in the build-up and the intricate sort of 1-2s in and around the box to get some shots off a goal. So I've shown you 2 examples of one goal, one shot there against Manchester United that I felt maybe are giving us an indication as to what Mikel Arteta is going to do next in terms of the tactical evolution of his front 3. We are going to do a video later this week or maybe next week looking at what Arsenal have shown us from a full tactical perspective in pre-season, but these are some of the early things that I'm noticing that maybe a way to address what's going on in terms of the lack of goals, the lack of efficiency. It's actually to get our best finishers nearer to goal as well, rather than have them so far wide and always out on the touchline. Now, when we talk about a problem with regards to goals, is that even fair? Because if I show you Arsenal's goal tally in the last couple seasons compared to the Invincibles, who we massively outscored, and compared to some of Man City's 2 recent title wins and Liverpool's 3 recent title challenges, you can see that actually, while we've outscored the Invincibles quite considerably, and we do fall short of Man City's 2 most recent tallies of 96 and 94, with our best being 91 Premier League goals, we have beaten 2 of Liverpool's best tallies, with 89-85 goals in 2 of their, best seasons in the Premier League, where I think they reached something like 97 points and 99 points, some ridiculous tallies. And then, of course, we did outscore, we didn't quite outscore them when they got the tally in the 21-22 season, but it shows that our numbers are pretty competitive with that, aren't they? So Arsenal aren't miles off. I mean, we are scoring plenty of Premier League goals, and we've done it for back-to-back seasons now. But forgetting the numbers, the eye test will tell you that we have been quite wasteful in front of goal at times as well, and that's just frustrating from a perspective. Look at the Villa game, the chances we had in both home and away, we couldn't put them away, and moments like that make you think, is that where the title got lost? So do Arsenal need to address something in the forward line? Well, recent reports are saying that we might still need to be patient on all this, because Eddie Nketiah, supposedly Arsenal aren't going to sell unless their valuation is met. They're not desperate to sell the player nor push him out. And then recent reports linking us with Gyökeres are saying that Sporting still want 100 million euros. Arsenal looking at Dominic Solanke. If you want to know how reliable these reports are, Jogo with 244,000 followers would tell you that they are probably fairly reliable. But this is all telling us that we probably have to be quite patient on the forward front, and look, that's frustrating. I'm very frustrated about this. I, for years, have been calling for Arsenal to add at least another wide forward, let alone another striker. But Arsenal don't seem in a rush to do that. Let's see. I think we might still do something in the window on that front, but again, I urge patience. It doesn't look like anything's moving that quickly on that front. Now, a couple more takeaways I just want to touch on. They weren't the main takeaways. I think that tactical stuff is really what I wanted to talk about, but just other things that I did feel coming away from our pre-season tour and what we've seen so far is that Declan Rice, for me, is a number 6 in this team and is going to be long-term for 2 reasons. Firstly, the links to Mikel Merino tell us that actually if we're looking to add an 8, well, our £100 million signing isn't going to come out the team for Mikel Merino, so it's likely he's going to play as a 6. Merino will complement Declan Rice really, really well. But the Merino signing, by the way, for what it's worth, reports are saying that he's now returned to Sociedad training this morning, which probably tells you that it's still quite a way off from us actually signing, and we might have to be patient, like I mentioned in yesterday's live. But the other reason that I think this whole Declan Rice thing and his future sort of is probably at number 6 is because when I saw us in pre-season, though I thought Jorginho did well and Partey did okay but didn't quite get to his levels, I felt both games against, well, actually all 3 teams, but mainly Man United and Liverpool, they were quite basketball-y, very end-to-end, and I felt we had quite control of either team. We didn't have them pinned in, we didn't have that domination. Maybe you could say the second half against Liverpool, the second half against Man United, but again, I think with us needing goals in both those halves, I think it sort of dictated the game went that way. We never really quite had control of the opposition, and I think Declan Rice, when he's there as that 6, certainly gives us that more. And in terms of the 8 and what Arteta wants to do there, I think he's still figuring that out. I mean, Mikel Merino gives you someone who helps him build up as well as being a bit of a box crasher. Nwaneri feels like that advanced 8 that Arteta's maybe been looking for a little bit, and Kai Havertz more that shadow striker who really hangs on that final line and actually allows your striker to drop into midfield and create some confusion and build up. So with all three of those players, you've got kind of different options at the 8. I just think that Arteta should go with one of those and pick what he wants and give Rice the keys to the number 6, because we don't look like we are dominating games and keeping teams pinned in unless it's Rice playing either quite close to the 6 in Jorginho and Partey or playing as the out-and-out 6 himself. So that's where I think Rice belongs, and I think pre-season, even without seeing him play, kind of cemented that for me as well. And the third and final point I really want to mention is that the youngsters are looking brilliant, and I think they're beefing up the squad too. If I just show you this on my tactical pad, here it is. This is the squad at the moment, how it could look. We've got your back 4 there, or let's say back 8, all these players we've got available. Here we go. Look at all those. With Kivior staying as well, he played quite a lot of minutes in pre-season, tells me that he's probably going to be staying unless a really good offer comes in for him. You've got Ethan Nwaneri there to play a part as well. He adds a little something extra because you've got your 6s in Partey, Jorginho, Rice. Then you've got Ergar, Vieira, Marino, Nwaneri. You've got basically a load of left footers there playing either side of the 6 that give us a lot of flexibility, a lot of different options in that midfield for how we could want to build up or use that left 8 position. And then the question is about this player here, the forward. What can they do? I feel like we are so close to completing this squad, and this is what I'm going to talk about in the Goonerverse podcast with Sharoy, so make sure you check that out. Essentially, we're going to look at the squad, what the youngsters have added, because this doesn't mention Lewis Skelly, it doesn't mention Salah Eddin, who did really well as well. But if Nwaneri comes in and plays just a part in the first team squad, then that squad is looking really, really filled up. It's looking really ready for the season. And my big question is only, what does this player do? Is it a right winger or a winger of some sort, or do they come in as a striker and Jesus can play some football out wide as well? So the squad is in a really good shape, and the youngsters have given us a lot of encouragement then. Nwaneri can play across the forward line, can play in the midfield, either side of the 6 as the right 8 or the left 8, as a creator or as one of the central midfielders and build up to. And then the youngsters like Lewis Skelly, if we need him to play some football, Saladin, if we need him to play some football. In some games, I'm not talking crunch Premier League games, but in some games throughout all competitions, I actually think they could do a job. So well done to the youngsters. I think they were brilliant in pre-season as well. So those are my big takeaways, everyone. Go check out my live yesterday where I talked about Tour in a lot more detail, talked about all the players and how they did. But essentially, tactically, we've seen something new from Arteta, potentially. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about that. Declan Rice, I think we need him to play 6 next season, and the squad is looking in decent shape. Get that one forward, get Marino over the line, and I'm confident we're going to compete significantly for the Premier League title once more, and hopefully take back a trophy as well.